Hi, I'm Jo Taylor and welcome to the Misadventures podcast. We have got a good episode coming up today, Stamps, haven't we?
It's a blinder.
We're joined by Mr. Matt Richardson. You may have seen him on The Extra Factor presenting that. He's done I'm a Celebrity spin-off and also the glorious soapbox race. Oh God, I fucked that up. The glorious soapbox race.
She can't say soapbox race. The Red Bull soapbox race on Dave.
And also from the Red Bull. I cannot get that one right. Also from the...
Just give it up. I'm just going to put in me saying soapbox race, to be honest. Because you obviously can't say that.
I just said it and you spoke over me.
Oh, you're not having it in there now.
Oh, God. Makes me look like a right amateur. I mean, I am. It's not like I'm getting paid for this shit.
Andy was on Dancing on Ice this year.
Yep, that too.
Yeah, so good episode.
Hang on, I haven't finished introducing Matt yet. There's more to him than just these things. He's also, obviously, a very good, very funny comedian.
Oh, yeah, you've put that last.
Because it was the finale point and you wanted to skim over it.
Yeah, so that's it. That's Matt Richardson. And also, normally, Joe, lovely Joe, at this point...
Oh, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
I know, you write it down because I won't be doing it again.
Well, we've got this recorded, so you can send me the clip.
Anyway, as I was saying, this is the point where I would normally force you to tell everyone a story from your illustrious dating past. But as we'll find out very shortly, Matt does that for me on this episode, so we might as well just crack on.
Welcome, Matt Richardson, to the Misadventures podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, you know what? I'm good, thanks. I'm really good, I think. I think I'm good, yeah. I'm never sure when I get asked that question.
Yeah, it's just the polite response is always to say, yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Look, ultimately, do you really want me to unload my problems on a travel podcast, or do you want me to just politely go, no, everything's good, thanks? It's not the right format for that. Oh, hang on, sorry, 1 second. What's up? Sorry, can you give me 1 second? Sorry, there's a problem that I need to just sort out.
It's a good job you're good at editing, isn't it?
Sorry about that. My girlfriend had a problem with a tech thing that she thought I might know the answer to, but I didn't.
I assumed what you'd done is that was the podcast equivalent of an emergency phone call on a date.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. You know, I just need to go to the loo, and then you sneak out the window.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's an emergency at home. I'm really sorry. I've got to go.
Yeah, exactly that. Oh no, I've left the oven on.
Oh my goodness. I feel like you're actually telling the story from one of my dates.
Oh really?
And you told me you weren't going to bring up my dating history, so I'm a little bit miffed. Yeah.
I promise. Look, I feel like you brought that up then. You could have left that alone. Look, this is your problem, not mine. You're the one that just went, I feel like that was my dating history. Do you want to talk about your dating history? Because it definitely feels like you do.
I really don't.
Yeah, I think you need to tell him about that guy now.
What? Oh, dear. Go on. Let's get it out. Go on.
Okay, so this was a few years ago now. I was going on a date and we agreed to go to a bar in Birmingham. And I said to him that I would be getting the train to Birmingham and I would text him when I was ready and when I would be leaving so we could make sure that we returned at the right time together. And he texted me to say that he was already on his way to Birmingham and I hadn't even jumped in the shower yet. And I was like, well, that's not good, is it? So I got ready eventually. So I was already 40 minutes late, not necessarily late, but after he got to the date. And he told me that he had gone to a bar next door to the one we arranged to meet in, which is fine.
Right.
But then I get there and I say, oh, I've just got to the pub. Where are you? And he said, oh, I'm just in the back. And I thought, well, come find me then. You've asked me on this date. Come to me. Did he bother? No, he didn't. Stood at the back, still watching the football. So I go to the bar, get a drink for myself. And I just go and stand with him while he finishes his pint. And then I kind of knew that he wasn't really going to be my cup of tea. But polite person that I am, so I'll go along with it, see if maybe something changes my mind. So we go next door to the actual bar that we agreed to meet in and we ordered our drinks and we got a table near the entrance of the bar. And I just sat there and I was thinking, I don't want to be on this date. I feel uncomfortable. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And I just wanted to leave. So I basically necked my drink and I said, I'm just going to pop to the loo. I'll be back shortly. I went out and I saw a guy that looked like a manager and I said, excuse me, is there any other way out of this restaurant apart from the front door? And he was like, no, there's not. I said, I'm pretty sure that's a fire hazard. You should probably have a second exit from the building. He was like, well, yes.
Oh no. See, look, I thought when you said, oh, this date, it sounds like a date I've had, I didn't realise you were the arsehole on the date. I thought you were going to be the victim.
No.
She's very much the arsehole. Straight out the fire door she went.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I assumed you were going to be like, oh, that happened to me once. A guy went to the loo and left me on a date, and I go, oh, what a lovely way to start this podcast. You know, you make me sympathetic towards you, rather than going, God, Joe's an evil so-and-so.
Yeah, so I got the manager to take me to the fire exit, and then I had to go up and round the block to make sure I didn't go past the entrance.
Oh, no.
And then I was on the train. It gets worse. I got on the train and it was packed, and I was sat on the train and I rang my friend trying to tell her what I did, but I was in a mix of laughing and crying, and everyone on the train was silent and basically trying to listen to my phone call. The call dropped out. We went through a tunnel, and I turned round and there was this group of ladies all sat there like leaning forward towards me as if to go, what's happening? And I was like, ladies, I've had an absolute mare.
Oh, well, if I would argue you didn't have an absolute mare. That guy has had an absolute mare. You know, I think what you've I think no matter how awkward a date is or anything, surely you could just go, oh, I'm just not really feeling this. Like, let's finish our drinks. It was nice to meet you, but it's obviously not the one for us. We haven't really clicked in any way.
Believe me, I've learnt my lesson. Stamps made me feel so bad. He was like, that lad's probably still sat there at the bar waiting for you to come out.
Poor guy's scarred for life. He's probably never dated again.
Probably not. And you know what? Like, I've never wished this on anyone, but like, hopefully you get the same to you. So you go, oh, actually, like I was owed that by the universe.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Have you done it? Is that the only time you've ever done that?
Absolutely, 100%. The only time I hadn't done it before that, and I've never done it since.
You know what? One day he's going to go on television and he's going to be like, say, you're going to be watching TV and you're going to be like, oh my God, who's that guy? And it's this like really successful guy. And they go, so what is your drive to make £1 billion? And I'll go, well, once actually, I was ditched in a bar in Birmingham by a girl that, I mean, I wasn't even that bothered about either, but she really got under my skin with that. So I decided, as revenge, I'd become the most successful man on the planet.
Maybe. I mean, if I can be the drive for somebody to become a billionaire, then that's good, isn't it?
You're a superhero villain origin story. That's what you are.
Just waiting to happen.
Oh dear. So yeah, that's enough of my dating history for a second episode, and let's move on, shall we, to talk a bit more about you, Matt.
Oh yes, please.
So I think you've been pretty busy, haven't you, the last 12 months, but probably slightly different to how you have been.
You know what? I haven't been busy, really. It's been...
I thought you would be.
Well, you know, like comparatively, no. So I've done look, I mean, I think compared to a lot of comedians, I've been all right. But, you know, I've not been doing the kind of things I'd normally be doing. I've had a lot of downtime, which was good for a while, but I'm a bit over it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit boring now, but yeah, I have done some slightly unusual things over the last few months because of that.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I mean, I did Dancing on Ice, which was not something I would have necessarily considered in a non-pandemic year, and I have been asked before and said no. But you know, I didn't have anything else going on. So when they went, "Would you like to ice skate for money?" I went, "You know what? Absolutely, I will ice skate for money."
What's made you say no before?
Well, I said no because when I've said no before, it's because you start ice skating in October, 5 days a week for a show that starts in the middle of January. So it's a big chunk of your life.
Yeah.
So I'm that's why I would have said no. That's why I've said no before, because it's such a big commitment. Whereas this year they're like, "Would you like to ice skate for 4 months?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to do anything for 4 months at this point." And it was great fun. But yeah, I've been okay busy wise, I think.
Yeah. So just a quick question about the ice skating. Could you ice skate before you went on the show?
No, like I could maybe just about get around an ice rink once,
Yeah.
but it would be quite an arduous experience.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I like ice skating, but because it'll be like at least a year, if not a couple of years, between each time that I go. Because normally it's like a Christmassy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time I get on the ice, I'm absolutely petrified. And like, there's little kids that are like zooming around because they're like so good. They've done it, you know, their parents have took them, and I'm like, oh my
I
goodness.
think the thing with ice skating is most people like the idea of it. I think is the issue with it, because you think, oh, ice skating, yeah, you remember doing it when you were younger, when you didn't have any fear of death,
Yes.
and you go, oh yeah, that's good fun, and then you get on the ice as an adult and you go, this is really dangerous and really hard. So yeah, I know what you mean. You go every couple of years and you're like, oh yeah, and you get on and you go, oh shit, this is actually horrendous. But now I'm good enough now though, so every year at Christmas I'm gonna be that guy at the ice rink who thinks he's amazing, skating round, going backwards, doing crossovers,
pirouetting.
Yeah, just everyone being like, who is that arsehole? And it's going to be
taking
me.
your own skates.
Oh, I've got my own skates now, yeah. I'm going to be that guy, you know, at the side with their own skates. I used to hate those people, and now I am one of them.
Oh my goodness me. So this year hasn't been a usual year for you, but normally you'd be here, there and everywhere, wouldn't you? You'd be flying all over the place.
Yes, so I've sort of fallen into lots of things. I travel a lot for work. So I do the Red Bull soapbox race on Dave. That's kind of one of the things I do, which is a great gig. But the travel for that, so like last year, well, not last year, 2019, we did Brazil, Japan, Texas, Finland, Lithuania. And then I did some gigs in Europe as well. So I went to like Amsterdam and did a few gigs abroad. So I'm always kind of on the move. And I love a holiday as well. Like, I'm a real sucker for a holiday.
So while you're at the soapbox race, are you doing the same thing that we're doing at home and thinking, it looks like you've spent so much time on this, you've gone to so much effort, I really hope as soon as you go down that hill, it just falls
Yes. Yes, like, so basically, we kind of go around. So it's really good fun. You're normally there for like 4 days when you go, and like it's only a day and a half's filming, really. It's a bit of a DOS. And the first day you kind of go in the afternoon when all the soapboxes are arriving at the track, and you look at them going, oh, they've spent some money on these. That's a shame, because you need them to be as... Like, so it depends on the country, really. So, like, in America, they always spend loads of money on them and they're really good, which is a shame because what you need is things that are aerodynamically impossible to work.
Yeah, you want a disaster, don't you?
Yeah, like, it's good TV for us. What we want is a really good crash that everyone walks away from.
Yes.
That's kind of the dream. Because if it's a crash where people get hurt, we can't really show it. But you go to some countries, like they've never done one in Brazil. If they do them a lot in a country, they get really good because the same teams go back again and again and again, right? People love it. Whereas if you go to a country where they've never had one, that's when you hit the money for people that are building machines that are going to fall apart at the first sign of any issue. Brazil was great for that. There were a lot of what I would call quite dangerous machines, which is great. It's great TV.
So when you're speaking to the people that have brought their like buggies along, is it difficult for you to just look at them and not go, surely you don't think that's going to get down the hill?
And just not burst out laughing.
Yeah, it is. And also what I think is interesting is all the teams have spent quite a lot of time building them. Like, they haven't built them to break, and then they start telling you about them. And as they go, well, you know, you'll be in Finland, the guy will be like, well, the reason this is going to be absolutely amazing. And in your head, you're going, I've been to more of these than you, mate, and I can tell you that you're not going to make it around the first corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must know what makes a good buggy now, though.
Yeah, but you know what? I do. I think I'm a pretty good judge of it, but there's still ones that come out of nowhere and surprise you. So some of them you think are going to be amazing and actually like they're a bit disappointing. And then some of them that look like they should never work are absolutely amazing. And it is genuinely, look, there isn't a science to it, as I'm sure if you've watched it, you would know. So that kind of makes it a little bit more thrilling, I suppose. You don't quite know when it's going to be good or bad.
There's designs that I've seen and you just think that shouldn't work. It should not work, but it does.
Absolutely.
It flies down.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other ones, like there was one in, where was it? I think there was one in maybe in Helsinki, and it looked really well built, and it was amazing. It was shaped like a Formula One car, and it looked like it was a really good bit of kit, and it didn't even make it off the start ramp. The wheel fell off, and so you're never sure, really.
There was one similar a couple of years ago. Somebody 2 or 3 years ago, like recreated the 1980s Batmobile, and this thing looked amazing. But it had tiny little wheels and a long front end, and it got to like a little ramp, and the front end just came flush against the ramp, and the whole thing upended, and the driver kind of fell out of the top, and it just fell to pieces.
Yeah, small wheels is one of the big mistakes people make. Never go small wheels. Small wheels, well, it's a middle ground. People who put bicycle wheels on, they always buckle over the jumps. So, and then little go-kart wheels are rubbish. There's sort of a middle ground wheel size that works perfectly. I mean, look, I'm saying this like I'm some sort of expert on some sort of sport that is real. All of this is just a mad, weird event, ultimately to sell an energy drink, isn't it? And I'm talking about it like it's a Formula One.
The science behind this.
But the teams take it so seriously, though. Like, they really do put so much into it.
They do, yeah.
They?
Like, especially but the UK one is like a really big. It's probably the biggest kind of. The most repeated place they've ever done it. So they're really, really good there. And some teams have entered it like 7 or 8 times. So they really know what they're doing. In America, we met one team that spent 10 grand on theirs, and it was amazing, and they got down quick, but it was boring.
Yeah.
So, there's some teams that take it seriously, but that's not the fun of it. Some of the best ones are really creative and don't look like they're going to be the quickest, but they're very unusual or have something interesting going on.
Yeah, it's meant to be entertainment, isn't it? It's not meant to be like, we're gonna get down the ramp with no problem.
100%. But you go to some countries and like they're giving away money. Like I think in Brazil it was like a cash prize. In Tokyo, they were giving away a trip to the Red Bull Formula One headquarters for a week. So there is something to win. So people do take it quite seriously.
Shouldn't be allowed. It's like when the engineers turn up on Robot Wars against the poor kid who's got a Quality Street tin. It's like if you've got an engineering degree, you're not allowed in.
Yeah, it does sort of take the fun away a bit, doesn't it, when that happens? So I do encourage more people who have no idea how anything works to enter, because it's better for us to watch, I think.
100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It makes much better television, doesn't it? So.
Oh, yeah.
So when you are, and this is probably going to be different for the different jobs you go on, when you go away and do the Red Bull work, do you get put up in really nice hotels? Are you flying first class, or are you like slumming it? What's the situation with that?
So Red Bull, yes, we get treated very nicely, and also I'm very good. Now this is going to make me sound like an absolute arsehole, but I don't fly economy. So and that is like the ultimate twat statement, I understand. However, I have worked out some quite good ways to not do that. Like I'm very good at collecting air miles and using kind of like the air mile system. So I'm very good at booking business class and first class flights for not a lot of money and things. So very often if I'm on a job and I've got loads of air miles and they go, right, you're going to fly to wherever, it's 12 hours, we're going to book you this flight. I say, give me the cash value for the flight and I'll book my own flight, because I know the way to do it to fly nice for the same money.
If you listen to our last episode with Freddie Quinn, where he was telling us he does the exact opposite, and he ended up, because of doing that, he ended up on a blacklisted airline in Jakarta. He's like, from now on, I'll be flying comfortably.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, I'm really into planes as well. Like, I'm a planes nerd. So, like, I will go out of my way to fly with unusual airlines and, small planes and all that kind of stuff. But for the long hauls, like, I am the ultimate friend to have when it comes to booking your holidays, because I'll tell you what to do to get the best flights possible.
I'm really intrigued about these top tips. What are your top 3 tips for getting a really good flight then, for not much money?
So tip 1, you've got to sign up to an airline credit card. That's what you've got to do. You've got to sign up to like a British Airways credit card or a Virgin one. And the important thing is with flying is you've got to pick an airline and stick with them. That's
so difficult though, because I want to get the deal.
But sometimes you've got to avoid the deal for a long-term goal. So, for example, like I fly BA always. I fly everywhere BA. I will go out of my way to fly BA or a BA affiliate airline if I can to get the points. So, like American Airlines or Qantas or Cathay Pacific or whoever. So that's really important. Number 2, don't be precious about the days you fly on. You're going to get a better deal if you're willing to fly out on a Tuesday and back on a Monday or something like that. Like flying on a Friday and back on a Friday, you're not going to get a good deal. So that's important. And number 3, I think what is important as well is you've got to sign up to these websites. There's a couple of websites where they'll give you alerts when the reward flights come on, the flights you get with points. Like there's one I sign up for called Points to Fly or something, and they send you an alert when BA's new points flights are on, so you're aware that you can go straight on and book the first class flights to wherever, and there's 2 of them available with your points.
That sounds so good. I am for sure gonna start looking into some of those things for when I travel next.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got it. And also I'm lucky, so the guy that runs the Red Bull stuff, like he flies BA as well. So like we always fly BA with Red Bull. So like I'm like BA, I've been BA Gold because of Red Bull a few times because we do so many flights. So you just got to stick with it. Whereas my girlfriend normally flies a lot to New York with her work, and she goes Virgin, and she's stuck with Virgin. So when we fly together, there's a bit of an argument sometimes.
Oh, how do you settle that?
Well, it depends really. It depends what the points are saying. So, for example, a couple of years ago, we went to Hong Kong and Thailand. And it actually worked out because we used enough BA air miles to fly Cathay Pacific first to Hong Kong. And it cost us £240 for both of us. And then
That's ridiculous.
It's amazing. It's £8,000 each normally, that flight. And then and then back, we had enough points. So we flew Virgin Upper back for £64 for the 2 of us. So that was very nice. So we kind of like use both of them in that sense sometimes.
So your flights, you're very precious about your flights, and I can totally understand.
I'm very
precious. Totally understand why, because there is nothing worse, especially when the flight is, you're going any longer than I think about 4 hours. You are so cramped up, and as well, I can't stand plain food. Like the smell is, I can't stand it. So I get wanting to be in a bit more of a nicer environment, having a bit more room, or being treated better.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can do it. However, I have no issue. If I had to, like, I've flown economy many, many times on really long flights, and like you say, it's not ideal, but it's never it's only for less than a day ever. Maximum it's for a day. I would say if it was either you can fly first class or you can stay in a better hotel for a week, I would always pick the better hotel of the 2 options.
Yeah, I'm picking the hotel.
Oh, same, absolutely. What my next question was going to be, so you're very precious about your flights, but what about when it comes to your hotels? What's your thoughts on that?
Look, so I mean, this is a bad podcast for me to do because travel is like the one thing I'm not snobby about anything, but like especially if I'm having, look, I've done really cheap and cheerful holidays. I've done really expensive holidays. I love a nice hotel. I have got out of my way to stay in certain hotels in the world because I like the look of the hotel. So like I'll build a holiday because I'm like, oh, I would love to go and stay there because they've got this amazing resort I want to go and stay in, rather than I want to visit X, so I'm going to find a hotel to go along with that.
I do that with restaurants.
Well, look, and I'm a big fan of that as well. I think absolutely you should do that. So I like a nice hotel. I've stayed in some pretty incredible hotels over the years. I've stayed in some like absolute shockers. I remember years ago.
That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about the shockers.
Yeah, see, the shockers haven't happened for a while. I mean, look, after the year I've had since the pandemic, I'm not staying in a nice hotel for a while again. So maybe it'll be worth doing this podcast again after a couple of years of going on holiday post-pandemic.
Not so smug now, are we, Matt?
No, not at all. But you know what? I've got some lovely memories from 4 seasons. And so I've stayed in some shocking places. I remember I went to Thailand with a load of friends, maybe, about 6 years ago, we went to Thailand. And I was kind of doing comedy and television at the time, and my friend was doing a job. However, we went and met up with a couple of our old school friends who were backpacking. And we kind of said, we were like, look, we're going to come and do like a couple of weeks with you, and we're going to stay where you're staying, and it's going to be really fun. I immediately realised that was one of the worst decisions we could have made. Because also, when you're like slumming it, you get poorly. Like everyone got ill on that holiday at some point.
Oh,
Like
God.
proper holiday belly. So but the thing is, like, I've been really poorly in a nice hotel, and it's kind of okay. I've been poorly in a £4 a night hotel in Thailand, and it was the worst experience of my life, especially because I was up at night throwing up in the toilet, and there was no way to stop frogs getting into the bathroom of this hotel.
I mean, if you've got the shits, you want the shits in comfort, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And then also you're staying with, like, it was us and, like, we'd made some other friends out there, and we're staying in, like, these 3 rooms in this horrific kind of, like, what was advertised as a treetop hotel were some shacks in the forest, right?
Essentially just a treehouse.
Yeah, basically. And they'd all gone out drinking, leaving me alone, and they came back, and not only, like, were their frogs getting into the room, they went and got them from their other room. So when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was surrounded by frogs. And I remember having such a fucking diva fit about it, right? Because, like,
King of the Frogs.
Oh my God, because I wasn't very well. I was going, I can afford to stay somewhere nicer than this, and you're treating me like this. I'm going. I'm
At
leaving.
least they all didn't come back to find that you'd croaked it.
Oh, I mean, look, I think that's nothing's going to be better than that joke on this podcast now. We should just wrap it up.
I really hope it is. I hope that's not the best we can do.
Very funny.
I'm completely with you for being a holiday snob. I have actively fallen out with friends on stag do's because they've said the words to me, we're staying in a hostel. No, I'm not staying. You may be staying in a hostel. I will book myself a hotel down the road.
I've actually done that as well. So I went on a stag do to Aberdeen, which is not like a classic stag do place particularly, but I think the stag who I knew had some family there that couldn't really travel, so that was fine. However, he was like, right, we're all sharing 3 to a room in the hotel. I'd never met any of these other people before. So I just ignored that message in the WhatsApp group and booked myself into the hotel divan down the road. And, like, they all stayed in this absolute shithole. So and then also it was really bad. So we got to the airport. I got to the airport in the morning, and I didn't know that we were all on the same flight home because I'd come up a day later. And I see them all at the airport in the morning, and I was like, oh, hello, guys. And then we were all hungover, obviously, and I didn't want to sit in Aberdeen Airport with all of them hungover, so I took myself off to the BA lounge.
And they were like, that's him. That's the one.
That's the prick, right? And but it's like, I was like, if it was my mates, it'd be different, but I didn't know any of them. And I deemed, right, the next day, I'm off duty on this stag do. I don't have to be nice to someone else's friends.
No, never seeing them again.
The trip home, I didn't sign up for that, so...
It reminds me of, people say that, like, money can't buy you happiness, but I'd rather be crying in a Mercedes than in a KA or something.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing, isn't it? You would rather have the shits in a 5-star hotel than in a hostel with a shared bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I say to people that say money can't buy you happiness, but showering on a plane is really cool. So,
that's nice.
So, and also when you're in a shower on the plane, no one can see your tears because of all the water. So you might as well just be sat in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is that, isn't it? Like, I think I went to Vegas maybe 3 years ago? My girlfriend and I went to Vegas. I took her for her birthday for like 4 days, went to Vegas, and I'd booked it all for her, and, like, we flew first class, which was lovely, right? Very nice, lovely way to start the holiday, lovely way to end the holiday, especially because, like, it's a night flight back. However, both of us got what I would say is the worst food poisoning either of us have ever had on the way home. So about an hour into the flight of an 11-hour flight home, we don't leave. We're either lying down or in the toilet, like every 10 minutes in the toilet, like on our knees, throwing up, both of us, right? It's absolute carnage. And one of the stewardesses was like, thank God you've got, like, there's only 11 of you in this cabin, so you can both have a loo each for the whole flight, which was a real plus point. We were so ill, actually. We landed at Heathrow. They had to wait till everyone got off the plane because I wasn't sure if I needed a paramedic or not. I was so poorly. We managed to get off the plane, did kind of like, passport control, got our bags, got into the arrivals hall, and I projectile vomited all over the floor of the arrivals hall. And so someone who works there was like, look, we're going to call you a paramedic. We're just going to check. And the poor, like, cab driver we'd booked just looking at me in horror, being like, I can't take him anywhere. So they call a paramedic, and his paramedic comes. He goes, hey, just a little side note. They're filming the ITV1 Heathrow documentary at the moment. Do you mind if they come and film this? And I was like, my first time on ITV1 is not going to be because I'm sick in arrivals at Heathrow. And he had to I had to have a saline. I was lying on the floor with a drip in the middle of Heathrow arrivals. And we had to stay in a hotel because we were too ill to get in a car for an hour.
What about those poor people who are
Oh.
flying Ryanair, who have got to pay £1 every time they need to use the bathroom? How much is that flight costing them if they're that ill?
Look, exactly. Well, probably about the same as probably about the same as it cost me in the end.
Just take my credit card. I'm gonna be a while.
Take air miles, Michael O'Leary. No.
There's flights where you have to pay to use the bathroom.
They don't really charge, do they? But they charge for everything else on Ryanair. I have to say, look, I love EasyJet. I'm a big EasyJet flyer. I will fly EasyJet if the option's there, and I think they're very good. Ryanair, I feel like it's a violation of my human rights, everything that they do. So I've had some Ryanair flights. I went on a flight to Ryanair, a Ryanair flight once a few years ago to Ibiza with some friends, and it was like a party flight. Really, it was sort of a late flight out of Stansted, and they had to stop serving booze 20 minutes in because it was carnage.
Just a party boat in the air.
There were some lads behind us fishing bags of cocaine out of their arse that they'd smuggled through security, doing keys of cocaine sat behind us, and we were like, well, this is absolutely unacceptable. And one of our friends had flown out of City with BA, and he's like, God, what a relaxing flight. When we met him there, we were like, we've literally just been in a pharmacy with wigs.
Just trapped in a tin box surrounded by coke particles.
Yeah. It was like a flying tiger.
Oh my God. Not allowed peanuts, but the cocaine. Wow.
Yeah, look, I mean, exactly. Look, you just got to, as long as you smuggle your own, it's fine.
Oh my goodness me.
So that was it. That was an experience.
Just coming back to the hotels and things, when I went on my trip around America, I had this plan of because I knew I was going for 5 weeks, so I knew it was going to cost me a fair amount of money, and I thought one way that I could maybe make it a little bit more affordable was to really think about the type of places I was staying in. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay in motels, and and everyone thought that I don't know what Jo thinks she's going to do, because she's going to want to stay in 4-star hotels all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to do Airbnb. I'd never done Airbnb in my life.
Yeah.
And I was going to stay in motels. Wow. I think it was my second night in America. So I'd flown there, had a first night in a hotel, which was like an Ibis. That was fine.
Absolutely normal. Yeah.
Yeah, just standard. You know what you're getting.
Safe bets, Ibises, I find.
Yes, exactly. Same Premier Inn, all those kind of things. You know what you're getting. It's not going to be amazing, but it should be a certain standard. And then I get to Philadelphia, and I'm staying in an Airbnb, and I've never stayed in an Airbnb before. And it was with two guys, Colin and Patrick, and they were just, renting out one of their rooms.
Is this the night you thought you were going to die?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
I'm okay. I like the idea that when I'm in America, I feel like I'm in a movie set, but I don't like the idea of when the movie set feels like it's something from Freddy Krueger. That's when it bothers me a bit.
Fine. Yeah, that's reasonable.
It was on one of those streets that you see all those Halloween films on, and it's all those smaller detached houses, and it was dusk, and there was crickets, and it was slightly humid. Honestly, I felt like I was on a movie set. And I pulled up to this house, and it was completely silent. I knocked on the door, and they said they were going to leave a key for me in the the little letterbox things they have outside the houses. No key.
Yeah.
And I messaged them and said, are you here? You said that you were going to be here for this time, because I arranged everything that I was going to be there at a certain time. And the guy messaged back saying, sorry, my partner's home. Just walk in. And I was like, oh my goodness me. I was like, do I just go in? Or so I just think, right, sod it, I'll just walk in. And the house is completely silent apart from these two dogs, which they warned me was going to be there. And I'm fine with dogs. It's not a problem. But the first room in the house was like a bit of a reception room, like a formal living room without a TV, so you know it was formal. And then, and I see the kitchen, can't see anyone past that. It was just silent. So I'm like shouting, I'm like, hello, hello, Colin, Patrick, nothing, no answer.
I'd have already been gone at this point, I think, Joe. I don't think I'd have hung around.
Well, I thought to myself, I've got nowhere else to stay. So, and I also really wanted a shower.
I might as well risk it.
So, and I think, right, I'll walk a bit more into the house and just see. So I open the little stairgate thing that's on the doorway to the kitchen because of the dogs. And I get in there and there's like an opened tin of food with a fork on the side. Walk a little bit further in back to the conservatory and there's Netflix on the telly, but it was like freshly paused. You know, when it's like, it hasn't gone to like any sort of like advert things, it's just on the pause. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And I was thinking to myself, they've heard me come and they've gone and hid. They've hid in their own house waiting for me. I was absolutely bricking it. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I come back out again and I messaged the person on Airbnb. I said, are you sure that your partner's here? I've been shouting and no one's answered. And he was like, yeah, we should be there. You know, you'll be okay. Just go up the stairs and your room is at the very end on the left. I was like, okay then. So I go upstairs and find the bedroom, and I was like, right, okay, walk in, and there was a little chalkboard on the side, and it said something like Max's playroom on the thing, and then like a little password thing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I am actually, who the hell is Max? Why is it his playroom for? This is where I'm meant to be staying. And then I text my friend and I said, look, I don't know whether I should stay here or not because I'm pretty scared. And I said, but I really need a shower and I want to go out tonight. And he said, well, get all your stuff, get everything out the car, go into the bathroom and lock yourself in and have a shower. And at least that way you can have a shower and you can be safe. I was like, good idea. So that's what I did. Took all my big suitcase, my backpack, everything, passport, phone in the bathroom with me. And I just started showering in this house.
Barricaded yourself into the bathroom.
But it turned out to be fine. I came back out and I saw the guy and I was like, oh, hi, are you Colin? And he was like, yeah, sorry. I was in the garden. And I was like, I did shout and I looked in the garden and there was nothing. But it was okay. They were both lovely. But I tell you what, I was petrified. I was thinking, what on earth? I didn't stay in an Airbnb again the whole trip.
Yeah.
I didn't do it again.
I mean, I've had a couple of bad experiences with Airbnb. The first time I ever used them, I was in LA. Don't want to brag, I was in LA having some meetings. Thanks, guys. That went absolutely fucking nowhere. And I'd gone to LA and for like work. I was in America anyway, and then I went to LA. And I got to this Airbnb. I wasn't sharing it with people. I've always kind of avoided that. Dropped my stuff off at this flat, went out for a drink by myself, just sort of go out and find a bar, go and have a few drinks. And I came back and there was an eviction notice on the door. The guy hadn't been paying his rent. And had obviously sublet it to me for a week to try and pay this rent. They're like, we're going to take all your stuff away tomorrow. And the guy was in another state visiting family. And like, I kind of messaged him being like, hey, mate, there's this eviction notice on the door, and he was like begging me to stay, like going, no, please, I really need your money. And I was like, I can't have everything I own like taken away because you're going to get evicted. So I ended up like having to go and stay in a hotel as well because of that. And I also stayed in one that was just gross in France once.
Oh, what was wrong with it?
It was just like a bit mouldy and it smelt funny. It just wasn't a very nice one in Paris that I'd kind of found. And I was trying to save money in Paris because the hotels in Paris are prohibitively expensive sometimes.
Yeah. Did it have good reviews?
Yeah, apparently it had, but I found it, I don't know if it was me being fussy or it hadn't been cleaned properly since the last one, but it just wasn't very nice and it was a bit dingy and gross.
The problem with reviews for Airbnb, they don't tell you what the standards are of the person who left the review.
Yeah.
That person could have horrendously low standards. They could think it's the best place they've ever stayed in.
The one I stayed at, all the reviews were absolutely amazing. That all of them were saying how lovely the hosts were and how much of a fabulous time they had. And I was thinking, oh my God, they are fake reviews because Those people aren't alive anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? I've stayed in a few since. I've stayed in like a couple in this country. I've done a couple of 10 of us have gone to a country cottage, and I feel much more comfortable using them here than when like you. Like I was in LA. I'd never been to LA by myself before. I was there totally alone. I had no friends there, and I walk into this and there's a problem, and I felt really vulnerable. Whereas I think even if a hotel's a bit manky, look, I've stayed in loads of like the Motel 6s and stuff, which are what, $20 a night or $30 a night. And like, they're basic, but they're fine. They're fine. They're just a bit basic, right? And, but I don't have a problem with that. It's just, I think when you're in someone's house and someone else has got keys to be able to get in and stuff.
Always a little bit on edge. You never quite know who that host is, do you?
Yeah, you just feel a bit weird about it, don't you? I feel like I've used them. Look, I have used them since and had good experiences, but like when I've been abroad, I tend to try and go to a hotel.
Yeah, and cameras as well. There's cameras in them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with me, like with certain trips, like there are certain trips I go, I'll do that and I can do that cheap and be happy and be comfortable. But other ones where I'm like, I will have to go and stay in half decent hotels, otherwise I wouldn't feel safe doing it. And I think a trip across America by myself, I'd want hotels that feel like that are chain hotels that are clearly reliable, because that would make me feel much safer.
Yeah. Well, my third night in America, I thought tomorrow is going to be absolutely fine. I booked this motel in Philadelphia, and I didn't realise, but it was on I think the bad side of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I get there, and I think it was near the airport, like the other side, like over the river from the airport. And it was just this big, massive, I want to say a car park, but there wasn't any spaces. It was just tarmac. And then there was a lovely Holiday Inn. And then there was my hotel next door. The pictures, they tried to get the Holiday Inn sign in. So it looked like I was staying in a Holiday Inn, but it wasn't. It was the one next door.
Okay.
That was a bit annoying. And I park up, and distinctively as well, on the side that the Holiday Inn was in, all the tarmac was lovely and, pothole free. On my side, it was basically like, the Grand Canyon. It was just all over the place. There was clearly a difference. And I park up and I get my suitcase out of my car, and there is this lad sat in this car, and he literally watches me from the moment I get out my car, get my suitcase out, and get to the hotel, which was a bit of a walk from the car park to the hotel. And I was like, oh my goodness me, he's literally watched me go into this hotel. I get in, get to the reception, and I said, I've got a room here. Give me the key. And I said, look, I am safe here, aren't I? This is going to be an okay place to stay tonight. And he was like, yeah, be fine. He said, by the way, I knock off at 1 o'clock and there's no one here until 8 a.m. tomorrow. So if you have a problem, you need to go next door. And I said, what, I need to come out of the hotel if there's a problem and go next door in the middle of the night? He was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's not the one, is it?
What if there's a problem in my room?
Yeah, I think... Look, I am also like, I don't mean to, sort of like, it's really easy to fall into those traps. I am an obsessive planner when I travel. Like, I'm all over it. So I like things like that try and trick you. Like, I've kind of been lucky enough to avoid over the years, because like I am obsessive about finding out what area of the town it is and like all that, because I actually enjoy booking travel more than I enjoy going on it, I think. Like, I get a real kick out of booking a holiday. So, and then I go on the holiday and I go, I actually enjoyed the booking bit more than this. So, yeah, but it is quite unfortunate when those little things happen. I had... the worst hotels I often stay in are when I'm on tour here, because there's definitely a budget on tour and it isn't high.
I was just going to say, is that taken out of your hands or are you booking it yourself?
Yeah, no. I always book it myself. People will book them for you, but I like to do it. And I try and find quirky little, nice little B&Bs and stuff. And I found loads over the country that I go back to time and time again, because they're really nice and like they're cheap, cheaper than a Premier Inn, but you get a nicer experience as well. And I found this one near Carlisle, and I was like, oh, this this looks lovely. It's like a country manor house. I was expecting like, you know, kind of wedding venue style country manor house, very posh, you know, and I've just got a good deal. I get there and it is in the middle of nowhere, like the middle of this foresty bit. And I go and check in and it's a bit run down. I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'm only staying for a night. And I get to reception and they go, hey, how you doing? Welcome to our hotel. I was like, yeah, it is something, isn't it? They went, just so you know, we've been on Most Haunted more than any other building in the UK. And I went, oh, cool, brilliant, great. And I went, oh, so have you got a bar or anything? And they went, we'd normally do, but because you're the only person staying tonight, we haven't opened it. I hope you don't mind. We've given them the night off. And I was like, okay, fine, fair enough. And she also then went, oh, FYI, it's like 10, 11 at night. I just finished the show, driven to the hotel. She went, just so you know, I actually live at the cottage. It's about a mile away at the end of the driveway. So if you've got any problems, just give us a ring and I'll try and get there as quick as possible. So have a lovely night. See you later. And they left me alone in this haunted manor house.
Are you not staying there with me, love? No. Did you not hear what I just said about Most Haunted? I'm off.
I was like, what? And you know what? Like, obviously nothing happened, but like, I didn't sleep a week.
I couldn't cope with that.
I don't believe in ghosts until I'm anywhere alone. And then I absolutely do believe in them, it turns out.
Yeah. Like, you know, those times where like you're just lying in bed and you feel someone's touched your foot and you like drag your foot into the bed.
Yeah.
And it just be the blanket fell on you wrong. But
well, exactly. Like, you know what? I've lived in like lots of old buildings. Like the last flat I lived in was in a really old building. It was like a shop and me, and that was it. And I always used to get funny vibes in there. And I was like, come on, mate, you live here. Like, you've never had an issue. But sometimes just feeling a bit weird. And when they tell you it's been on Most Haunted, that doesn't help.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was kind of like, come on, mate, don't tell me that.
No, that's horrendous.
I'll admit, I am still scared of the dark. So I definitely could not cope in that situation, even with the lights on, maybe.
And like it wasn't even one of those where I'm like, oh, it was a nice hotel. Like if there were those other people there, it was a bit like grim and damp and odd, and like so I was like, yeah, what a waste. I should have just stayed in the Premier Inn in Carlisle City Centre.
Yeah,
that'd have been easier for everybody.
Sometimes it doesn't pay to try and find the obscure accommodation.
Exactly. And look, I've been really lucky. Like, where I've been loads of places where, like, you know, oh, there's this nice. Well, it's normally a wedding venue, but because I'm there in the winter when there's no weddings, you get an amazing deal, and it's a really nice place to go and stay in, a little bit different. I've had loads of luck in those, so I got a bit arrogant and assumed that was the same, and it wasn't.
Definitely. So you mentioned earlier that you have been you've been a fair bit around America, and one of the places you've been to is Texas, isn't it? And that is massively on my to-do list. I am planning my next road trip, and it is all round the cowboy country next. So I really want to know about your time in Texas.
I found Texas really underwhelming.
That's the end of that dream, Joe.
Oh, why did you hurt my heart?
Also, I've got to say, I've done America a lot. I've done I've been to New York a lot. I've been to LA a lot. I've been to Miami quite a bit for like various things, and then I've also done some slightly different places. I've probably been once or twice a year for the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say, like for work and things. And I don't dislike it, but I'm happy to have a break for a while from America, because I found Texas to be really like not great. So I went to Dallas, and there's nothing really there. Apparently Austin's amazing, and like there's loads of places that are amazing. Dallas is just this big sprawl of nothing, full of people with really unsavory political opinions, who are quite happy to tell you about them. And I found I also think the food in America is fucking abysmal.
Really?
I think it is shocking. So, I went to Orlando. I took my little brother to Orlando last year for his 21st, and the food was horrendous. The food in Dallas was absolutely disgusting. Everywhere we went, I thought it was awful. The portion sizes are out of control. The salt they put in, oh my God, no. I look at it and I'm like, of course you've got issues with food and weight and things here, because none of this is good. even when like one morning I was like, they were like, oh, there's this like potato-y breakfast thing that doesn't have any meat. And I was like, oh, I'll try that actually, because I've had meat every day because there's nothing else. Like, I go to America and then I don't shit for 4 weeks when I get home. Like, it's a real problem. And then I had this potato thing, and it was so salted and huge, and it was also gigantic. And I was like, I just don't want to eat it. I just feel a bit ill.
Do you know what I can't get on board with? And it's something they kept trying to push on me when I went to America, is those grits.
Yeah, so these were a bit like grits. They were like sweet potato grits. And I was like, oh, it was the healthiest thing on the menu. And look, we were in a nice hotel and everything. At a nice steakhouse was like its restaurant. But I just find the food there, unless you go to like LA and New York and it's a bit more cosmopolitan, I find the food in America a massive issue for me that I just can't get over.
What is kind of Dallas, Texas cuisine? So Philly, you've got cheesesteaks, Orleans, your barbecued.
It's a lot of steak and stuff like that. So it's, you know, steak, potato, like very stodgy. When I came back, so like, for example, one night I was at dinner with the crew, and I was like, I'm just going to have a salad because we've been here for 4 days and I haven't had anything green.
Yeah.
And this salad comes and it's so covered in dressing and stuff. I think because on the menus in a lot of states, they have to put the calorie count next to each thing. And even like the salad was 1,000 calories.
Jesus.
I just want, like, I got back onto the plane on the way home and they're like, what would you like? And I was like, just a leaf, just a little bit of leaf.
I'd want a calorie refund.
Yeah, I just want a bit of broccoli if you've got that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do find the food in America quite difficult, and also I think it's really. I think, you know, a lot of British people are like, oh, Americans are a nightmare. I don't think that. I think there's lots of lovely people there. However, I have come across some very unsavoury characters in America, and also it's the only place, like, no matter where you go, especially where you go somewhere. If you go to like New York or LA, it doesn't happen. But I've done lots of like traveling up and like in bits in the middle. I've been to like Alaska and stuff. And in Dallas, I didn't have a single interaction where the person I interacted with, first reaction to me wasn't going, oh, hello, where have you come from? And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, guys. Yeah. Get over it.
I would ask if I've met the Queen a few times.
Yeah, just like, and there was this one woman in the hotel, and obviously there's like, 12 of us on this shoot, right? All of us English, and every one of us, you go down for a coffee, she'd be like, oh, I'll give you that cup of Joe, not a problem. And we're just like, this is really, like, can you just, yeah, we get it. Can you just fucking...
It's Trump country, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is Trump country, yeah. It's the only place in the world I've ever been called a fucking foreigner as well by somebody in a bad way. Look, I mean, you know, I understand as well that we're British, we go places and ruin it 400 years ago and then kind of like have a bad rep. But I was in Orlando last year, and this guy, he thought my younger brother had pushed in front of him when he hadn't. The guy had gone to the wrong part to get his bag checked at one of the theme parks, and he's like, "You fucking," and he was in a MAGA hat, like a proper, you know, Trump hat, and was like yelling about us fucking foreigners coming over here, ruining things, having no respect. I was like, we're in, like, this is like the biggest tourist attraction in the world. You do, like, we're at Epcot as well, which is all about the world. So I'm not sure this is the place for you, buddy.
Now put your gun down. Let's just reassess the situation.
That does freak me out as well, going into a Walmart and seeing all the guns next to the cheese.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. When I was there, one of the mornings, I went down for breakfast in the hotel, and I think I'd only been there a week. I think I was near Washington, and basically I saw a policeman was sat there and he just had a gun on him, which I know is normal over there, but I hadn't actually seen it yet, and I hadn't seen it any other time I'd been to America either. And I would just sat there eating my breakfast, and I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that he had an actual gun on him. It was very bizarre. Like, I know it happens, but it's just different than when you actually see it and you know you're in the room with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in Texas, it freaked me out more because, like, everywhere, you know, I think there's a lot of states where you can't just carry a pistol around. Right? You're allowed to own guns, but you can't just like walk around the shops with a pistol. In Texas, you absolutely can do that. So it was the first time I'd been somewhere where I was like, oh, there's just a guy with a gun like on the street. And that's normal. And that was a really unusual thing. Look, I think like I said, I've been to parts of America. Like, I actually really, you saying about Washington, I really loved DC. I did like a long weekend in DC a few years ago because I had like some time off work and I managed to get a last minute deal. And I really loved it there. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought the food was great. I thought the people were great. I thought it was a great city. But yet, once you kind of scratch into that slightly more America, then it becomes somewhere that I'm not as keen as you to travel around necessarily.
Yeah, see, when I went to Washington, and it was a bit of a, well, it's on the way to the from one place I want to go to and another place I want to go to, so obviously I'm going to go to it. And after my horrific hotel experiences, when I was going to Washington, because I was booking my hotels on the way, and it was last minute, I had no choice but to stay in a 5-star hotel for 2 nights.
Oh, yeah, I know, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah,
hard work.
Yeah, I spent more on 2 nights in Washington on hotels than I probably did for the whole week in Florida.
Really? What hotel did you stay in Washington, out of interest?
I think it was like Circle or something like that. It was near North. Yeah, it was just probably about a mile and a half away from the White House, a little bit out,
nice.
And where you get into a little bit more of the just like the houses and where people are living and stuff. And it was really nice. I wasn't expecting to enjoy Washington as much as I did. I thought it was going to be quite boring. But I loved it. As long as you're willing to like just get out and, you know, get some comfy shoes on and just walk it.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can see so much.
So I was just going to say, from someone who's never been, because like you say, it looks boring. It's judgmental, but it looks boring.
No, it's not.
It's you know what as well is the good thing about Washington is the Smithsonian Institute owns all the museums that are free, which is unusual for America, but it's every museum. It's like the Botanical Gardens, the Air and Space Museum, the Science Museum, the Natural History Museum, the African American Museum are all on one road. So it's you can go to a different thing every day. They've got, as a plane lover, they've got a great museum at the airport as well, which is huge with like the shuttle and Blackbird, like all these old planes. But there's just so much to do, and like you say, the restaurants are really nice. It's got great bars. Like there's just loads to do, and you can walk everywhere. Like it's not like a lot of America, which I really struggle with, which is it's impossible to walk everywhere. I love a city where you can just like walk wherever you want, and Washington is like that. It's small enough. The DC bit is small enough. You can walk everywhere and see everything, and it's great for that.
There's more to it than just the White House.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good place. Like if you're going to go to America to go and do somewhere else for a while, a couple of weeks or something, it's a great place to do like 3 days, and you can see it all. And I even did I went and did I did the tour around Congress. I did the tour of the Capitol. Like I booked into that. You can't book the tour of the White House anymore if you're not a US citizen, which is really unfortunate. But I also did the Pentagon.
I did that
and
too.
I thought it was really boring considering all the security because you just basically walk around some offices, didn't you? Really? Like, you didn't say anything.
I quite liked it.
I didn't think you saw anything that interesting though. Obviously, because it's all secret.
You're not going behind that door.
Pretty much, it was that. Yeah.
No, but I think it was more interesting because of the sheer size of it and the operation of it as well. It's like a mini village inside, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
So, but I definitely did. Like, I don't do that sort of stuff all the time. Like, I'm not one of them people. So, and especially when I was away on my trip, I didn't go to loads of museums and everything. I was a lot more about just walking outside, having a look at because all the buildings, especially places like Washington, even just looking at all the buildings, they're so interesting because they take so much pride in all of that stuff and put so much money into it.
I think the issue with America though, when you come from the UK, is that we are used to history being everywhere because it is everywhere. Like the building my flat is in is like 140 years old, right? That's normal. Whereas America isn't a very old country. So I grew up in a town where, we had an old monks, what are they called? Where they all live?
Monastery,
an old monastery that's 1,000 years old, some of the buildings there and some of the old brickwork. And that's just kind of a normal thing. Whereas in America, it's like 300 years old. So a lot of it, they're like, this is the oldest, greatest thing in America. And you're like, most of London is older than that, actually. So it doesn't feel as kind of like impressive in that sense because it's all quite new. really. And I think that's
Yeah.
why America sometimes, I think, is a bit disappointing, is because we come from somewhere that is like dripping in history.
Yeah, so when I was in Florida, I did one of those like boat tour things around the harbours. I was in Fort Lauderdale. So we did this and it was all round, you know, those like the millionaire mansion things. And yeah,
I have done that tour before. Yeah, I know the one you mean.
yeah. So the one, have you seen with where it goes past the Lacoste mansion with the crocodile? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So they took us past, so you probably saw the same thing then. They took us past this house and they were like, this is the oldest house in, like, I think it was like the whole of Florida or something like that. They were really, really proud of how old this house was. And I think it was something like 200 years old, if that, maybe 150 years old. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
right, okay then.
when they say things like that, you're like, Liberty's older than this in central London. What are you on about?
Oh yeah, it's
Harrods is older. So I always think with that in America, but I've done that in Florida. I drove once down from Orlando, did the Florida Keys, and it's just very new, and like it's just big, innit? That's the thing with America. It's just everything's really far apart. The thing with Dallas is there was no public transport. It's not like you could go to like the city centre from where we were staying. You had to drive everywhere.
Oh really?
So, yeah, it's huge, Dallas. It's just sprawl. Like you drive for hours and you've not left Dallas. And I found that it was just a bit like there's not kind of that. There's a lot of those cities don't have that central cool area with bars and restaurants and things because they've been built as a grid, so that just doesn't exist over there.
Yeah.
But then isn't Texas the biggest state that is just nothingness? It's got the most empty land.
I think so. There's a lot of empty space, but like, so they've got space to build out, so nothing goes up, it goes out, which is fine in Dallas. But and it was really hot as well. It was a very hot place, and I'm not amazing in the heat.
Same. Well, you have shut me down on Texas there, Matt, and
so I mean, look. Once again, though, I've seen one place in Texas, and I was there for 4 days, or 5 days maybe.
Yeah. See, I wanted to do like Austin.
Austin's meant to be amazing. I've heard Houston's really cool.
Yeah.
And look, if you go out into the bits, but like it's just my experience of it is standing on a hill talking to a lot of Texans who are quite offensive. So it's slightly different, I guess.
Did you go to a rodeo?
No, we didn't.
I want to do that.
Because I was just there for work, so it wasn't something that we went to do. We did think about it, but we were all quite jet lagged, and it was the last night, and we were flying from Texas back to London for one night to then go to Tokyo. So we were kind of like, we should probably go to bed because we're going to be absolutely wrecked when we get to Tokyo otherwise.
Yeah. So the next place on my list, and I know that you've been here as well, so you can give me a little bit of heads up, is Australia. So that's somewhere else that I'm planning.
Yeah.
And I think you've been there as well. So
I have. However, the last time I went to Australia, I spent less time in the country than I did on the flight. So I'm not the best person to talk to. I've been a couple of times, but I've only ever been to do the I'm a Celebrity spin-off show as a guest. Yeah. So they literally fly you out, you land, you do the show every morning for 3 days or 4 days, and then you get back on a plane and fly back. And you don't leave the hotel you're staying at, really.
That must be crazy.
Yes, the last time I was there for 2 days. So I landed, I think did I say 2 nights in Australia, but I was on the plane for 48 hours and in the country 46.
That's madness.
Yeah, which was, it doesn't bother me too much. It's like quite good fun, quite a bit of an adventure for a couple of days. But so I don't really know much of Australia because I've only been to like the town near where they filmed that, which is quite a small little town. But it's on the Gold Coast, which is very beautiful. And I've been to like Surfers Paradise for an evening while I've been there. But otherwise, I don't really have a proper scope of what Australia's like.
So a weekend in Australia, that's
I did a weekend in Australia, yeah.
Nice.
So it's just a city break.
I literally did. And it wasn't even, I was in the middle of nowhere at this hotel, kind of like hanging out with someone from Made in Chelsea or something for 2 days because we were the 2 guests and the only ones there. And then just came back, popped back on the plane. I think my online check-in opened for my flight home whilst I was still in the UK.
Oh, my. Oh, wow. I think I'll be going there for a little bit longer than 2 or 3 days.
I recommend that, if I'm honest, because I didn't sleep properly for about a week when I got home. It absolutely ruined me. And also, when you go over there, they kind of try and keep you on British time. which is difficult, but you sort of try to, just so it doesn't absolutely ruin your life, to be in Australian time for 2 days and then home.
But yeah, I guess if it's that short amount of time, then you've kind of got to just ignore what time it is there and try and just carry on, haven't you?
Pretty much, yeah. And the crew and everyone keep British time, so that makes it a bit easier. But you don't have to be in so they all go to work at 10 p.m, but you don't have to be in till 5 a.m. So it kind of, but then you go to the pool straight afterwards. It's brilliant. But then you've got to spend like 3 hours in Abu Dhabi on the way home, and that really messes your body clock up. That was the moment that did it for me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so what I want to know now is, where is the worst place that you've been?
The worst place I've ever been. Oh goodness.
And why? Why is it?
I would say the worst place I've ever been. Oh my god, that's a really good question. I've been quite fortunate. I've not been to many terrible places. I have been to some. I would say what I've done is I've stayed in unfortunate locations in very nice places before.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm on board to this.
So I went to Saint-Tropez once for work.
Nice.
And we stayed in a hotel that was like an hour outside because it's so expensive. The hotel they put us in was an hour outside, and I got to the hotel. It was in this little town that was like quite rough. And I got into bed, and there were like ants in my bed.
I couldn't cope with that.
That was pretty bad. I didn't like that. That was pretty awful.
Do you know, you're saying the rough part of Saint-Tropez. It sounds quite hard to imagine a rough part of Saint-Tropez.
Yeah. Well, it was like basically we had to stay in like the town across because it was too expensive, and that wasn't very pleasant. I didn't enjoy that trip. But mostly, look, I you know what? There's places that I'm like underwhelmed by compared to like other people really, really love.
So we had this on the last episode as well. Freddie said the same thing. So where's your place then that you felt underwhelmed by?
Other than Texas.
Yeah, in Texas.
I'm not bothered. I'm not that bothered about Amsterdam.
Controversial.
I've been a few times, like, and like it's perfectly nice, but it would never be a place I would pick. I don't think.
Just not your vibe.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, isn't it? It's all right. Like, and people rave about it and absolutely like obsess over it, and which I think is fair enough for them. And Barcelona, I wasn't that bothered about.
I'm with you.
I actually thought Barcelona was a bit rough.
Yeah, very, and expensive.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think another place which I actually like, but I think is too expensive for how nice it is Dublin. I think it's really cool, but I get there and it's so expensive.
There seems to be a theme around that, though. Go to Dublin if you want to spend 15 quid on a pint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, look, also the fact that the euro is really bad for us at the moment is probably part of an issue. But I did find Dublin, the last time I went maybe a couple of years ago. I've got a friend that lives there, and I found it very, very expensive. But mostly I've been lucky. I've not gone anywhere and gone, this is awful, I hate this.
So you've shared a bed with frogs and ants.
Yes.
Is there any other animals or insects?
That wasn't even on I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even. I mean, well, look, luckily I wasn't in, so you know, it's so I didn't have to share my bed with anything unsavoury. But is there anything else that I've shared? Not really. I've never done anywhere where there's too much terrifying wildlife. I was meant to be going on safari in May, but obviously that's not happening now because we're not allowed to go anywhere. So that would have been the only place I'd have gone where I'd gone, there's going to be wildlife that might be in the beds in the middle of nowhere in Africa. But otherwise, I've been quite lucky.
Yes, I can't cope with stuff like that. The motel I was on about in Philadelphia, when I got there, I was okay, and then I was just chilling out on the bed. I'd only been in America a couple of days, so I hadn't quite got used to, my body clock hadn't sorted itself out yet, and I was lying there and I felt itchy, and I was like, oh my god, is there something on the bed? So I was like, got the bed and I was trying to shake everything. There was nothing there, but I definitely felt that there was something. And I woke up the next day with like a couple of bites, and I hadn't had anything prior to that. But stuff like that, if I feel it, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I think I'm probably the same. And like getting bitten and stuff is a bit annoying, isn't it? And I'm always paranoid about that in bed by getting bitten by things.
Yeah.
But I've never had like the bed bugs experience or anything like that. I've been fairly lucky.
Yeah. Oh no, I haven't had anything like that, actually, like seen anything. But I think bites and stuff, they're like generally quite normal and things like that can happen sometimes, can't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen when I'm on safari.
You might need a bit more than bug spray for a lion bite. Have you managed to rebook the safari?
We've moved it back a year. So we've just done that, which it's a shame, but I'd rather, it wouldn't have gone ahead anyway now. We moved it before they told us we had to, just in case. But yeah.
And if you're going to do that, you don't want restrictions, do you? You just want to do it.
Absolutely, because it's going to be the only time I ever go. Ultimately, it's one of those, isn't it? Like it's my girlfriend was taking me for my 30th, and it's one of those where we're not going to go back to do that.
Yes.
So whereas there's other things you think where places we've been where I go, we'll definitely go back there one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice. It would be, whereas we want to do that properly and not do it where they're like, well, you've got to wear masks everywhere and do it like this, and it's not quite as brilliant as it should be because of that, I suppose.
Yeah, you do it once and do it really well.
Where is it you're going?
We were going to Tanzania.
Nice.
Well, I was quite excited because there was you kind of fly into Nairobi in Kenya, then you fly to Kilimanjaro, then it's like 3 flights to get to this amazing hotel that was in the middle of nowhere with its own little airstrip. So it would have been, lovely. So it just got to wait another year now.
So apart from Tanzania and going on your safari, where else is on your list? So not thinking about work, but for your own adventure.
Right, okay, for holidays.
Yes. Where are you eager to get to? And is it because there's something there? Like, is there festivals or anything you're going to, or is it just purely about the place?
I think for me, it depends really. I'm not so bothered about, say, for example, I'd love to go, but it's not really high up my list to go to the Maldives or Mauritius, places that are just a nice beach. I'm more interested in I would quite like to go and do Japan. So I've been to Tokyo, but I would like to go and see more of Japan and spend a couple of weeks in Japan. I think that'd be amazing.
Did you do the karaoke bars when you were there?
No, we didn't. We were all because I was working, and we kind of I thought it was a really cool place, really interesting. But we weren't there for long enough really to do all that. So I would love to go and drive around Japan and kind of see more of Japan. That'd be amazing. Or the only place I would love to go that's a beachy place is I'd love to go to the middle of the Pacific and go to Bora Bora or Fiji or somewhere absolutely wild like that. But I think the next few, I think we're going to do loads of Europe now the next couple of years. I think because flying is going to become really expensive. And travel is going to become more difficult because of COVID. So we're going to try and do a few more little unusual places in Europe. We did Athens recently, which I've never been to Athens, to go and see all the touristy stuff. And as long as there's museums and stuff, I'm quite happy.
So Matt, I have been to Athens for approximately 5 hours.
Oh, really?
So a bit like your Australia trip, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did it. We did 3 days. We did a long weekend, and it was amazing. It's a great city. But normally people go to Greece and go to the islands, whereas we were actually, let's go and see. We're quite like ancient Greece, to read about and things. So we went and did all that, did the Acropolis and stuff. This summer just gone, which was amazing because no one was there.
Oh, cool.
So we kind of saw it all when it wasn't. I mean, look, I understand that I'm saying this as someone that's been there as a tourist, but when there's loads of tourists and it's sort of not quite the same experience.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, you just managed to pick that little window of time to get there when it was really quiet.
Yeah, I think Venice would have been a really cool one to do when it wasn't very busy.
Yeah, and all the water was clear and all the canals and everything.
Because Venice is the most over tourist place in the world or something, isn't it? They say. I'd quite like to go back to do more of Asia. I've done Thailand a couple of times, but I would go back there in a heartbeat. And I'd quite like to go to Vietnam as well. They're kind of quite high up the list.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think I'd like Vietnam as well.
Yeah, I think that'd be really interesting as a place to go.
So is there anything there in particular that you want to go and see?
Not particularly like that. The big thing that we're looking at as well recently is sort of trains. So I would love to do the train journey through Russia that's 8 days long.
Oh, where you sleep on the train.
And there's one through South Africa. Yeah, and there's one in Australia.
Yeah,
so
it's like a hotel room. Yeah.
So we did look actually. The last time we went to Thailand, we thought about flying into Singapore and then getting the Orient Express up to Bangkok, which is 3 days. But it's £3,500 a night.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Ridiculous. But we quite like doing that, going somewhere and stopping in a city that you wouldn't expect. So when last time we went to Thailand, we stopped in Hong Kong for 3 days, and that was amazing. So I'd like to do those trains. There's a few of them across the world. I've just read a book about it where there's like around the world in 80 trains, and there's so many of them, and a lot of them aren't very expensive to go and stay on and do. So I think things like that, they're a bit more of an unusual experience where you get to see lots of places in the process, really suit me.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about the Europe trip, right? It's because obviously we don't have that privilege being on an island, but once you're in Europe, you can pretty much see the whole of Europe via train.
Absolutely. So on my, I was skating with an American on Dancing on Ice, and she cannot believe that we don't all go to Europe every weekend. Because for them, like an hour's flight is
It's
nothing
nothing,
in America. Or a drive where, like, there's a point where she was going, "Oh, would you go to Edinburgh?" She's like, "Would you drive up there?" I was like, "Oh God, no! It's like 5 hours." She's like, "Are you kidding me that that's a problem?" I was like, "Well, yeah, we live on a small island, I suppose, but they drive 8 hours." So I think, more and more, I think to go and see cool little places in Europe, especially, it would be nice to go and do a little bit. I really like driving. As much as I drive doing comedy, I would happily go and spend 2 weeks like driving through the Alps, drive through Germany, and do it that way as well.
Oh, I'm exactly the same. I love driving too, so it was no problem for me being on my own, doing all the driving on my road trip. But coming back to the comment that your skate partner made, driving through America and going from place to place, and on average, I made sure that my drives were no more than around 3 hours to 3.5 hours. That was the max time I'd give myself, and I'd always try and get there before dark. I get it now, because once I did that, I was like, oh my goodness, like a 3 hour drive is nothing. Like if you just get get your foot down and just go for it without stops.
Yeah, it's sort of, it is fine. Like I'd happily drive to Leeds and back from London in a night, or Newcastle and back just about I'll do in one night. And like it doesn't really bother me, but it just, when you live on an island where like 3 hours is halfway across it.
It's perspective, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Whereas I think, so the fact that, I was like, oh yeah, Amsterdam's a 45-minute flight. And they're like, why aren't you there all the time? I was like, well, I've actually got some interesting opinions on Amsterdam. But do you know what I mean? Like Paris, the fact that Paris is 2 hours and 20 minutes on a train from London is madness, really.
Yeah, it is when you put it like that.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think, my girlfriend works in fashion. She has commuted Paris before, like for the day. And that's no issue. It's like going to Manchester and back. It's no different, really.
Yeah, it's crazy that we don't take advantage of that kind of stuff more.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think, talking of that kind of thing, a big thing on our list that we really want to go and do, which I don't know if we'll do it this year because everyone will be holidaying in the UK, so it'll be expensive, is the Highlands, which isn't very far away at all.
Have you heard of the I forget what it's called now, but it's like the M500, or it's the Scottish 500 or something. It's like the Scottish version of Route 66.
Yeah, that goes across the top of it.
It goes all around the top.
Yeah. It kind of does the outline almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I desperately want to do that. I think that would be really good.
But you've got to think, like, it feels far away, but like you fly to Inverness, which is an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and a half maximum, and then you just rent a car and you can do it, and it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. So I'd really like to do that in the next couple of years. But I'm going to wait till everyone's going abroad again, so it's not too expensive.
Yeah, and also won't be as crowded.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think with all that, like, I never really moan about crowds when I'm somewhere, because it's that famous thing, isn't it? Like, you say you're stuck in traffic, but you are the traffic.
Yeah.
So, I've gone places and gone, oh God, it's really crowded here. And then I'm like, oh, but I'm also here, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I am the crowd. I am part of this.
I'm part of the issue here.
Wow, I think that was a good chat. That was interesting. I liked that.
Thanks. I mean, look, you've ultimately had me on to talk about going on holiday for an hour and a half. I do think it's slightly cruel because we can't go on holiday at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. What a terrible time to do this podcast.
And now
it's escapism.
I'm sat here going, oh, I really want to go there. Like, I think I'm going to go and like I'm just going to go on booking.com and just look at random hotels now and dream about going on holiday. That's what you've made me want to do.
That's what I've been doing.
We've essentially just set up a podcast where we tease people for an hour about places they're not allowed to go to.
Oh, I know. Oh.
We are helping the, holiday and travel industry. We are whetting people's appetites to get going again. So then, when the doors open and people can fly and go on holiday, they'll have been listening to this podcast and everyone will be raring to book somewhere.
Although
They're
I am worried
healthy.
that like it's going to be a grander night to go to Butlins, so I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go for a while.
Oh dear.
It so is. It's just gone insane. You're going to be paying £2,000 just to
Yeah.
get a caravan in Skegness.
Easily now. I think it's, you know what, I had a really, like, this is, you know, sort of not a funny note to end on, I suppose, but I had a really interesting conversation with someone going, what a shame for people that can normally only afford to holiday in the UK, because that's now out of their reach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it probably will be for a couple of years, you know, which is really sad. And I think, because, you know, maybe it's a good thing that it's opened our eyes to there's loads of amazing places to go here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, the world's on fire, and flying more isn't going to help that.
That's it. Maybe people will now start appreciating what we've got on our front doorstep instead of going, I must go somewhere sunny. I must go somewhere else.
Yeah. Because I guess 40 years ago, even 30 years ago, people never went away as much as they do now. So maybe, you know, it'll slowly reverse that a little bit.
I think people are disgusted if they don't manage to get away on holiday every year. It's become such, people just take it for granted now. I must have a holiday.
Yeah, and flying's so cheap as well, isn't it? Whereas actually, you know, just being able to like bob, like I've had it before where like I talked about it earlier. Like I was like, oh, I've got a week off now. When I did a radio show every day, I had a week off that I thought we were filming a show in, and it didn't happen. I was like, I've got 4 days where I can go somewhere, and I just went to DC. So I was like, I've never been. I'm going to go there. I got a cheap deal, and like that was like, it wasn't like any hassle at all to do that. Whereas actually, it should be hassle to do that, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like it should be more hassle than we've made it. It's a miracle. So maybe now we'll kind of go, well, the environmental expense of it all, because I pay because I fly in years where I fly a lot, I pay to offset all my carbon, so I feel so guilty about it. So maybe there'll be less of that now.
Yeah, that's definitely one good thing, I suppose, isn't it? About all the less travel and everything that everyone's doing. It'll help try and reverse some of that.
Maybe it's all been a massive plan to try and reverse.
Oh my God, we're not going down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, come on. I mean, put your tinfoil hat on.
Oh dear.
But honestly, you know, Joe Stamps, this has been genuinely like lovely talking about holidays. Thank you for having me and asking me to do it.
Absolutely our pleasure. You now just need to go and grab yourself a beer or a wine, whatever it is that you fancy, and reminisce on the holidays.
Thanks very much. Bye, bye, bye.
So in one episode, I was called an arsehole, and also my travel dreams around Texas and going to Australia have been crushed. So not a great week for Joe.
No. Does that mean we don't need to do the podcast anymore?
I mean, no, because I feel like we need to do another episode to kind of skim over some of those parts, and maybe
you need to find somewhere else to go on holiday.
I also need to get some new recommendations as well. And maybe, I hate to say it, really hate to say it, but I feel like I need to at some point tell another dating story to just make people see that what happened was a one-off.
It so wasn't.
It was. I've never done that before, and I've never done it since. I've learnt my lesson.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Just search Misadventures in Travel.